Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Alex, and we're back again, and we're going to be predicting some more NBA awards. I've already done the MVP award and the Defensive Player of the Year, and today we're going to be going over the Rookie of the Year award. This year, I think, could really be an interesting race, not only because are we seeing a generational talent in Victor Wembanyama, but there's other guys in the draft class who I believe could potentially give him a run for his money, but then we also have someone from a previous draft class in Chet Holmgren who is finally going to be able to play his first season, so he is going to be technically a rookie, and I also think that he has a legitimate shot. So let's go over everyone's case, and at the end of the video I will tell you who I think is ultimately going to win. And we're going to start off here with Victor Wembanyama. Again, he is a generational prospect, probably the most hyped prospect since LeBron. If you wanted to make the argument that Zion was a more hyped prospect, I actually would totally understand that, but Victor Wembanyama being a 7'4" big who has wing and guard skills, it's going to be really interesting to see just how great he can be defensively. I think he is already going into the league going to be a probably top 15 to 20 defender in the league, and that has a lot to do with his rim protection, but also just straight up versatility. He is a very quick and agile player for his size, and I think that's going to help him a lot. And when you just look at his entire game, I think his defensive ability is going to be the thing that translates the most. Now, of course, in the preseason, Victor has shown some really good things on the offensive end, especially with dribbling the ball and being able to self-create. I think that's something that he can continue to develop as he gets better and as he gets some more years under his belt. But I do still think that his offensive game is very raw. Yes, he does have a pretty good handle for his size, but I do think if you put smaller wings onto him, as long as they're low, the low man usually wins those battles. I think that is going to be an adjustment for him. But at the end of the day, I still see him averaging somewhere between 17 to 20 points a game. Efficiency should be pretty solid, especially for his size. A lot of his stuff should be under the basket, even though he has been shooting a good amount of threes in the preseason. He's going to be a great rim protector. I think the rebounds might be in question, but I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for him. I think he has a very strong case to win Rookie of the Year, and I know the media is definitely going to be on his side, but the one thing that could hold Victor Wembanyama back from winning the award is the games played, because now in this new regular season, you have to play 65 games or else you just aren't qualified to win these types of awards. And if you're someone like me, I do somewhat question what Victor Wembanyama's health could look like. Despite his height, he is definitely kind of lacking the weight and the strength for his size. And with how quick and agile he is, and because of how active he can be as a player, I do question if maybe he just falls down the wrong way, or maybe he just gets even tripped up on himself, that maybe he could miss a couple of games and just here and there, and eventually it would just kind of total to him only playing 60 games, something like that, and he's not going to be able to win the award. But I, of course, try not to think that players are going to get injured, because I would love everyone to stay healthy, but that's just not how the league works. People are bound to get injured at some point in the season, unless your name is Mikal Bridges, so he probably will at some point not be playing because of some sort of injury. And who knows, maybe Greg Popovich also decides to rest him some games as well to preserve his health, and that could potentially again hold him back from winning Rookie of the Year. Next up, let's look at Scoot Henderson, and Scoot is another guy. He was the 3rd pick in the NBA draft, and just from watching him in the preseason, I think his game has actually been pretty smooth. Of course, he hasn't had the best performances, really turning the ball over quite a bit, but in the games that he at least played pretty good and was scoring the ball well, I thought he was scoring very good, especially in the flow of the offense. Nothing in my eyes was really forced. It wasn't like he was trying to force his will on the team, and everything was just kind of coming to him, and I think that's really good, especially with a team with someone like Anthony Simons, DeAndre Ayton, which they just received in that Damian Lillard trade. They still have Jeremy Grant, and of course you still have Shaedon Sharpe as well, and be a big piece into this rebuild for the Blazers. There's some scoring options on this team. So while I think Scoot Henderson should be kind of a big focus in the offense, I actually think it will be more as a playmaker and passer, which I think he is very good at. And with, again, all these guys on the team and having all these great talents around him, I think will help him get those assists and just be a good passer and playmaker. The efficiency of his scoring, I think, is really going to be the biggest question mark, because he isn't the greatest shooter, especially from 3-point range. He is a pretty decent mid-range shooter, and he can finish around the rim. He's very athletic. So as long as he's able to limit his shots from behind the arc, I think his efficiency could be pretty decent. And defensively, while I don't think Scoot Henderson is anything to be super excited about, I definitely don't think he's a slouch on that side of the ball. So we could potentially be seeing Scoot also maybe get like 1.5, maybe 1 steal a game. And again, steals don't determine if you're a good defender or not, but when you're casuals like these NBA media voters, they're gonna see, oh, he's averaging 16, 8, and 2 steals. Like, oh my gosh, like he's such a good defender. It's kind of wishy-washy with them, so it could potentially swing him into that upper echelon and potentially win the Rookie of the Year. Next up, Chet Holmgren is kind of my favorite person to look for because, again, he didn't play last season. He's going to be coming into the season. It's going to be his rookie year, and I think he's in a very similar place as Victor Wembanyama, where I think the defense is going to easily translate, and I think he can be one of the better defenders in the league. The offensive game of Chet, in my opinion, might hold him back from winning Rookie of the Year, and it's not due to maybe the lack of skill that he has on that side of the floor, because I actually do think he is quite skilled, being able to put the ball on the floor, also shoot from 3. I think he's a good offensive player, but when you are going to be on a team with Shea, with Josh Giddey, and also J-Dub getting better as well, he is more likely than not going to be the 4th option on this team. And again, the NBA voters, if the averages of points are kind of low compared to other people in this Rookie of the Year race, they probably won't vote for him despite how great he is on the defensive end. Again, Chet's defensive prowess is really going to put him, in my opinion, in the running for Rookie of the Year. He's going to be a good shot blocker. He's going to be a good rebounder. I think he'll be a better rebounder than Victor Wembanyama, but at their peaks as players, I think that they will be about the same in terms of rebounding. I just think right now, Victor is probably going to be playing more on the wing, so there's just not going to be as much opportunity to be a rebounder if you're playing on the perimeter and not in the paint. And Chet is more of, I guess, a traditional big than Victor Wembanyama. He'll find himself more in the paint because he is going to be the center for the Thunder. But I think Chet has a very, very real chance of winning Rookie of the Year. I got 2 more people in this Rookie of the Year race, but in my opinion, they might not even really be remotely close in this race. I'll start off with Brandon Miller, the 2nd pick of the NBA draft, and I don't know, I'm just not that high on him. I think a big reason why he won't be in the Rookie of the Year race is in the beginning of the season, I'm actually not too sure if he's going to start. I can see the Hornets starting Gordon Hayward and Brandon Miller coming off the bench kind of as like their 6th man, and I think that could really halt the potential of Brandon Miller, depending on what the Hornets do with kind of like their lineups and who Brandon Miller's playing with when he does come onto the court. I think Brandon Miller would definitely succeed if LaMelo Ball is still on the floor. LaMelo Ball is one of the best passers in the league, and if they're able to drop plays for Brandon Miller coming off of screens and kind of moving in the mid-range, which is what I think Brandon Miller's strongest asset is on the offensive end, is his mid-range shot. If LaMelo is able to set him up with some nice passes, easy shots, I think Brandon Miller could be a really good piece for this Hornets team. But again, I just don't know if they're going to be starting him, and if he is going to be coming off the bench for like the first quarter of the season, that could hold him back, at least statistically, to really be putting him into this race. But Brandon Miller is also a pretty underrated rebounder, especially at his position and size, so that could potentially kind of make up for any statistic differences between guys like Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren or Scoot Henderson. But Brandon Miller is a very weird prospect to me. I'm more of like a I need to see it to believe it sort of guy. I don't think he's going to be a bust, depending on what you think a bust is. Like I don't think he's going to be 2nd pick overall worthy. I think Scoot is going to be the better prospect. But Brandon Miller, I still think is going to be a very solid guy. And if he ends up starting this year and playing with LaMelo Ball is really going to help him out, I actually think he could potentially make, you know, his own little Rookie of the Year race, but I highly doubt it. And for my last guy who I think could potentially win Rookie of the Year, he would be my dark horse, but it's very unlikely. I have Amen Thompson. Yes, the shot really isn't there, and he has shown a little bit of flashes with some nice pull-up mid-range shots and 3-point shots in the preseason, but the shooting really isn't there. But the defense and playmaking and passing is definitely there for Amen. What I think is going to hold them back is very similar to Brandon Miller. I just don't know how many minutes Amen is going to be getting. When you have starting backcourt of Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green, those guys are probably going to be getting a good amount of minutes. And with Amen coming off the bench, I think having limited minutes again can hold him back statistically, which the Rookie of the Year race kind of ends up being a statistic comparison and not really a game-for-game comparison. But I think Amen Thompson is going to be a very, very good NBA player, but really what's going to hold him back is him just not starting. But if Fred VanVleet for whatever reason gets benched, and if Amen Thompson becomes the new starting point guard for the Rockets team, that could definitely give him a better shot. But again, I think that's even more unlikely than Brandon Miller starting for the Hornets, so I don't really know if that is going to happen. Now, who do I think is going to win the race? I guess I'll start off just kind of with my top 3. Starting at number 3, moving my way down to 1. At number 3, I think I would have Scoot Henderson. At 2, I would put Chet. And at number 1, I'll have Wembanyama. Again, Wembanyama is more likely than not going to have the media on his side. So even if there is some sort of tie between Chet and Victor, I truly do think people are just going to take Victor Wembanyama because of all the hype, and it would be kind of weird if he didn't win Rookie of the Year and people were calling him the best talent that we've seen since LeBron. I think it'd be kind of crazy, so I can see the media just kind of going through that and making that realization and picking Victor Wembanyama. But I find it really hard to believe for Wembanyama to lose, because if he is by far, in a way, the best rookie candidate, he's going to win. And again, if it's a tie, I think he will win. The only way I can see Victor Wembanyama losing this Rookie of the Year race is if he just absolutely stinks up the joint and he is nowhere near the guy that we thought he was going to be, which I don't think is going to happen. So more likely than not, I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be the 2024 NBA Rookie of the Year. But hey, those are my thoughts on the Rookie of the Year race. Let me know down below what y'all think. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and sub. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year, so it'd mean a lot. Make sure to check out my socials down below in the description. You can also check out this video somewhere on the screen. Anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.